My name is Jane Rex, and I work in the Office of Transfer Services at Appalachian State University. And one of the unique things about my experience is I spent 23 years on a community college campus prior to coming to Appalachian. So when they were interviewing me for the job in 2010, and they were creating this, at that time, Office of Transfer Articulation, I said, I only see things through a transfer student's eyes. I said, so if that's not what you want, then I'm not the person for the job. And they hired me, and sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I walk on campus and their heads are down, like, no, they're not contact. But I think for the most part, that's what's allowed us to be most effective in what we do. We'll talk a little bit I'll talk a little bit about the office structure. We have 8 staff members in the Office of Now Transfer Services. And we serve students, transfer students, from the time they're prospective, thinking about coming with advising, really to the time they graduate. So we have systems in place for all of that. All articulation occurs in our area, so we are the one-stop for transfer services. So it's really made it easier for us to be able to build these relationships. And we'll talk a little bit. How many of you were here, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, we actually did the provost or associate vice chancellor and myself did a pre-conference workshop on the Transfer Symposium and building relationships. Were you here originally? And you were as well? Okay, so hopefully you'll see what the fruit of that labor has been and where we've come. First of all, before we get started, too many people in the room to take time to introduce everyone, but how many of you are from community colleges? Okay. And how many of you are the rest from four-year private and public universities? Any just from private business? Yeah, you can sit. There's several seasons. Just to get a framework of what we're looking at. But we're going to talk about the Transfer Symposium. Well, I say the Transfer Symposium will continue in other key strategies to engage your campus community. So we'll go ahead and get started. Feel free to ask questions. I'll certainly try to finish in time that you can also ask questions. But like I said, feel free to ask questions. So really what we want to get accomplished today, and some of our goals, is to create a case for institution-wide transfer initiatives, understand how to plan a university transfer symposium or a similar event on your campus, and to learn some unique ideas to encourage participation from support from faculty and staff. Now, what we put on your chairs is just one example of how we work with, how we engage faculty. Kim Morton, raise your hand, is our associate director. She's responsible for engagement and retention of all transfer students. So they don't graduate. It's Kim's responsibility. But anyway, different ways that we can engage faculty. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. How many of you, I'm trying to get a survey across the country. How many of you have a transfer services center that provides services and resources to transfer students? Not a physical place for them to go and study. Okay. How many of you would like to have one? So this is our campus. Appalachian State University is, I'll say, nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it really is spectacular. And so sometimes when you think about college campuses, you are in the foothills and you're looking up at the mountains, but we are really literally in the mountains. It is a beautiful setting. It's fairly remote. Good skiing. We had snow yesterday. Again, in North Carolina. How many of you are from a school in North Carolina? I bet some of you. I think, but this is just my nature too, I think we have great working relationships with our sister institutions, and we'll talk a little bit more about who they are. But this is just to give you an understanding of, and a perspective and a framework We brought in 1,266 transfer students this fall, 501 in the spring, 3125 first-year students. How many of you are not calling them freshmen anymore? Well, I think transfer students first year too. Did you not think that's confusing? Anyway, we're working on that. And our total enrollment is approximately 18,000. So again, when you think about initiatives and things that you can do on your campus, you also have to scale it. What's possible. How does it fit in my institution? In our transfer enrollment, 71% come from the community colleges, and I think that's very typical. Well, I say it's very typical. I think for the most part, the larger percentage is coming from community college. 27% 4-year and 2% other. Now, I have to say, for you, raise your hand if you're from UNC Charlotte. Okay. I just want you to know that you're our top 4-year transfer school. I just thought I'd throw that. As far as class status, again, 50% come into sophomores, and I think that's probably, is that pretty typical? 34% is juniors, and this is the challenge too. At the community colleges, we want students to get their associate degree, but it's the challenge of can they finish in 4 if they get the associate degree. So I'm not really quite sure I want that number to grow. I want to support the community colleges, but I think the reverse transfer helps us in completion of community college, but that's a whole other conversation. So this is our state. So we have 17 public institutions in North Carolina, 16 4-year institutions. So we are a very heavy educational state. We have 58 community colleges, so as you can see there's not any place where you can go and go, I think there's one for at least every 2 counties. Well, yeah, there is. There's 100, I think there's 100 counties in North Carolina. So education is very available. The other thing that I think is important to know that North Carolina has an agreement with the community college system. In 1997, they started the first comprehensive articulation agreement between the UNC system and the North Carolina community colleges. So there's a common course library. So every course in the community college system is similar. Anyone from Florida? Karen? See, you have a common core for your 4-year schools too. I think that would really be fabulous. I can't ever imagine that happening. That would really make it easy. Approved college transfer courses, so particularly after the revision in 2014, there is a core group of courses that you have to take and plug it into your general education curriculum regardless, 30 hours. You have to take those courses in general education. And there are some guarantees. Your lower level gen ed requirements are met with an associate degree, AA or AS. And you're guaranteed admissibility to one of the 16 institutions. Might not be your first choice, but you can have admissibility. There are some seats up here. The really unique thing about North Carolina, which is really a challenge for all of us in the 4-year systems in North Carolina, is we have 116 early college and or innovative high schools. That brings a whole new perspective, okay, as to how we serve students. Kim, if we get a chance, we'll talk about our early college social ed. And 36 independent colleges and universities. So I'll tell you, there's a lot of buying for money in public education, just in education in North Carolina. So let me just briefly, before we move on to the first Transfer Symposium, our office was created in 2010, and basically just to provide seamless transfer and really have oversight of transfer credit. So it was a new office. We didn't know what we were supposed to do. We had no guidelines. There weren't many of these in the country, so we really didn't have really a framework in which to work. But we put processes in place to provide timely credit evaluation, to ensure quality and control. We had credits being evaluated, freshmen were being evaluated in admissions, transfers in the registrar's office, distance ed was doing their own evaluation, so there was no quality control over how credit was evaluated. We created a website and communication plan for prospective and new students. We were networking and building relationships with our community college partners, and we were providing outreach to colleges and academic departments within Appalachian. So in the first couple of years, we thought, we are doing a great job. Everyone knows what we're doing. People are on board, and we were doing a great job. Well, but there were still all these myths out there. So after almost 3 years into us building this foundation, well, all transfers come from the community college. We're not academically prepared. And we still have the leftovers who say, our institute, that's not who we are. We're not transfer students. We don't want to be known as a transfer school. But I mean, literally, even at the higher levels of administration, would say, well, that's not who we are. Oh, I can tell which students are transfers. So when a faculty member would say to me, well, I can tell which ones are transfers. They're the ones performing poorly in my class. I said, well, do you know the transfers who are getting A's? That's because I'm sure for some of those too. So they usually never respond, come back to that. But we still had a lot of myths, and that was in our own campus community. And if people have these myths, then you really don't have a base in which to work, in which to create policies, procedures, initiatives that would positively impact transfer students. So, fortunately, in the spring of 2013, the provost went ahead and charged a transfer services team, because she was aware of this too. In fact, she was one of the ones who came down and did the presentation several years ago. She was aware that there were still these myths, that transfer students still weren't being served in the manner in which they should have been served. Keep in mind, at that point, we only had 2 credit evaluators, myself, and we wrote a grant for a transition program called Jumpstart. So our office wasn't fully staffed at that time, so there was only so much that we could do. She charged it in March. Recommendations came from that committee in June. But one of the things, the charges was to identify the services and resources that should be available to students. And this was best practices, I mean, researching across the country. Our peer institutions, and just a lot of research was done. And to address the expectations articulated in our strategic plan. Your state, your institution has a strategic plan. It mentions transfer students in there. You cannot let a mandate or one of those recommendations go by without using that as a case for creating support for transfer students. And on the left, you can see who was involved. I mean, we had faculty, we had staff, we had students. So we tried to get a cross-representation. Trina, were you on that? So raise your hand. Trina is one of our math faculty. I know this is really crazy, and next to her is our librarian, transfer librarian. They're both presenting today. So when we talk about collaboration, I mean, I think it's because we have fun, right? So we just have a lot of collaboration, but Trina was on that initial. So she would be a good person to talk to afterwards if you wanted to find out more about how that transfer services team made those recommendations. So let's talk a little bit now about our transfer symposiums. So we just completed, well, last year, our 3rd symposium. And we started with a campus conversation. What to create a vision and a better understanding of who the transfer students were. Now, let me see if I can pull this up. So, why would that come up? Do I have to get out of the PowerPoint? Okay, just use the lack of technical awareness here. Can I just move that? Okay. So we have a website called Transfer Symposium. transfersymposium.appstate.edu, and it will highlight each of the symposiums that we had. Symposium 2013-14, and of course the one on the page is the current one. And you may not be able to see it from here, but again, a campus conversation about transfer student success. So, academic affairs supported it. It went from 11 to 5, and the goals were, again, to learn more about transfer students, just to do a large, broad brush of who our transfer students are. To learn about the demographics, to understand why transfer students are important. That's the other thing too, and I'm trying to think of who said it yesterday, but some institutions get more money for higher level students who are coming in with higher level courses. I mean, there's lots of reasons why transfer students are important, but that's not always communicated. And to, just to learn how we can serve them and understand them a little better. So, and we spelled out everything for them. Why should they attend? Well, I mean, they could join the campus conversation. They were eligible. We had $10,000 at that point in grants. The provost's office said, well, we'll go ahead as an incentive, give you $10,000 so that the people who participated in it could write a grant, whether it be to travel to a conference, a transfer initiative, or research. And I know both Kelly and Trina went ahead and took advantage of that as well. And who should attend? So what we did, there's nothing worse than going to a workshop or a conference by yourself, having to go back to a department and be the sole person trying to, gain the support and the momentum. So we encourage people to come as teams. So bring 2 or 3 team members, and if you had more people in your area that wanted to come, you could bring 2 teams. But it was, made it a little bit more exciting and engaging. And then as far as which department should attend, we said if you're in the top 10, we're in transfer students, if most of our transfer students are coming into education, business, and then we listed, as you can see there's a lot blank, then we listed where the top 10 were. If you just wanted to, if you're in student development and you wanted to develop programming and services, anyone who interacts with students. What I thought was really interesting is we had people from food services, we had parking and safety, we had, there was a whole list. It almost became like, oh, this is a thing to do, you're not going to miss a symposium. So what happened is we ended up with, we had our state, our general administration, state transfer articulation person came. Michelle Blackwell was with reverse transfer at that time, who's with the National Clearinghouse. She came. We had a state representative that came. The word just really got out, and we had about 220 faculty and staff who attended. And so you can see the agenda. Is there anyone in here from UT, University of Tennessee? Well, I can talk about that. So University of Tennessee, it was funny, they had come to visit us a little over a year ago just to find out more about our office. So they wanted to do a symposium on their campus. So they went ahead and did exactly the same. And when I say exactly the same, they said, oh, Jane, we copied it. Where I said, that's fine. Whatever works. That's, is that okay to do that?
Was it Saturday?
No, it's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
Yeah. And so we provided lunch. And so the day started with the provost talking about why transfer students were important and really, giving an overview of who our transfer students are. Then over lunch, we had our institutional research really start talking about where are they coming from, what are their GPAs, what is their persistence, what are their graduation rates. People, they had no idea, that this is who our population, on campus was. And then after that, we had some breakout sessions, and we made sure we represented the academic area. So we had to talk about initiatives and things. I'm trying to think of who was involved in that from academics. Did you hear that? No? We had a student development perspective, and then we had a session that covered what we were currently doing in the Office of Transfer Services. We had student panels, but we always had our community college partners with us in each one of those sessions. As a result of our Jumpstart, our transition program, at that time we had 3 community college partners that we worked closely with. They were involved in the planning, and they were involved in the day as well. So, so as a result, and you'll be able to see all the grants that were awarded on each one of these symposiums as well. So the initial one, and a lot of it is because there were so many people. I think we probably had 7 or 8 grants out of that. But the awareness that that brought to our campus was really amazing. So as a result of that, what we did is we call it transfer talking points. Every fall, institutional research will create an overview of who our transfer students are, what the top majors are, what the top transfer schools are. Just a lot of information in there. The other thing that might be helpful for you if you wanted to access this website at some point, we have a toolkit. We have all of our talking points in there so you can see what we do, but we also have the presentation information and all the different resources, and you'll be able to even see the task force study and the final report and recommendations. So there's a lot of information that you can find on that website that might be helpful to you. But again, it really was a great event, and you can find all the information about all of those on this website. So let's go. Oh, don't pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to that. Sorry about that. Okay. So here's just a picture. Could have done that prettier. Here's just some photos of the student panel. We had one of our student ambassadors lead the student panel. And of course, you know, everyone wants to hear from students and what their perspective is. So we don't really do anything without the student panel, because they're the ones who really provide the insight and information as to what they need. We think we know what they need. So this is, as a result, here are some of the comments. So keep in mind, we did the transfer, had the transfer services team give recommendations, okay? And this was in June. This occurred in September. But when the recommendations came out, and you know yourself, we don't want to mandate programming and initiatives. So how could we get the campus community to buy in to what some of these recommendations are, okay? So we didn't share those recommendations with anybody. But what happened as a result, they pretty much came out based on their own awareness. All of their comments related back to what the recommendations. I mean, so it's, you know, they have to, the best thing you can do is provide the information, because your faculty and staff are going to come up with the solutions if you provide the information. So, and I think that's the best way to get the buy-in, you know, for that to happen. But look at some of the comments. I like this fourth one, that transfer students need love too. That was cute. That we need to provide them housing opportunities. So that made it so much easier for us to move forward. Not that we've made the greatest progress, we've made some. But again, we're not saying that. You know, so it was much easier for us to go to housing and say, we really do need to have more transfer housing. Or, so again, developing awareness. And then some of the recommendations for taking action. And some of the recommendations were exactly what the transfer services team came up with. So again, we had that instant buy-in. Considering ways to make them eligible for departmental honors participation. They didn't know that when they came in, they may miss the opportunity for to be a part of the honors college. But there are departmental honors programs. Just a lot of little things. That I'm thinking of proposing that we name a transfer coordinator in our department so that they can go to community colleges and talk to prospective students. Who does that, you know? I mean, I thought that was great. So, Transfer Symposium. We thought it was really effective, but again, how do you keep that momentum going? You have new faculty and staff who are coming into the institution all the time. So I think sometimes we forget that. We do a one-time thing, and then we move on. But some of the things as a result, and this is really a result of all the symposiums, but from that came the Office of Transfer Services. So when the request was made to bring in 3 new staff to our office, one a transition advisor who works with transfer students before they even get here and advising. We did have an administrative assistant. We were all taking turns answering the phone because we were supposed to be just a support system and not a point of contact, but we became a point of contact. And then we hired your position, the associate director responsible for engagement and retention. So we were able to get 3 positions, which then, like I said, now we have a staff of 8. Lots of departmental initiatives. I really highly recommend going to either Trina or Kelly's presentations because they have done some phenomenal things in their areas. We now have transfer residential learning communities, so we do have more, and so there's programming that goes along with that. We have a very strong transfer services team. We started a transfer advisory board in the very beginning. We have a transfer pre-orientation program. It's called TPOP. So when we first started, we realized that orientation was not as robust as it needed to be. So we have a pre-orientation program, but that's really effective. And so when they come for that brief one day, they're just so much more prepared to get so much more out of that orientation day. We have regular communications at community colleges, all the 58 community colleges. We have faculty mentors and training. Like I said, that's what you see there. Kim did trainings last week. We had 14 faculty. I mean, I think that's pretty significant. So our goal is to have 1 faculty transfer mentor in every academic department. So we have, I bet you we have about 50 now, 55. 65 on yours?
On your webpage.
You counted them?
I think that's
Well, that's what math people do. So anyway, so our goal is to have 1 for every, and in many departments we have more than that. We redesigned orientation to make it more conference style, so that when students were waiting to be advised, they didn't have idle time. So we have different workshops going on. We expanded our Jumpstart program, which is, like I said, a transition program which we go into the community colleges. We now have 4 community colleges that we're partners with. We have specific transfer track tours. We call them transfer track. Specific transfer, visitation tours. And we have our student ambassadors, but also our student mentors who actually give the tour. It was only maybe 3 years ago that we didn't have anything. Maybe 4, probably 3. But it wasn't any specific tour for transfer students. And it was so freshman-centric. They had, talking about a lot of things. It is amazing that transfer students actually transfer to some of the schools they go to based on the information they get. Articulation agreements. And this is really interesting because, we were talking about the value of articulation agreements. For some reason, our faculty want to do articulation agreements. And I'm going to continue to support them in that if they think it's going to be beneficial. But what we need to do is go ahead and give them the data back. So we need to say, so we have a way to track from the time they come in if they're a part of an articulation agreement. So I think what we have to do, you don't want to discourage your faculty from wanting to build relationships, but I think they also need the data as well. So we need to make sure that we're, regularly, and we have a regular schedule of how we evaluate and look at articulation agreements. But to say, hey, it's been 5 years, you've had no students in this agreement, I think we need to but we're not that far enough along, where we can really do that. I just had an email this morning in our exercise science. There's 4 schools in North Carolina that have a health and fitness AAS degree. She's taken 60-some hours from the self-fitness and moving them into the general exercise science, which I think is fabulous. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But anyway, we do articulation agreements. And we actually, for the first time maybe 3 years ago, have transfer-specific, transfer representatives on our Student Government Association, which I think is really effective. So those are just some of the initiatives, but I put in some of the things as a result. One of the things I did mention as a part of our staff, how many mentors do we have? 13? So we now have 13 transfer student mentors as well. So we look at the next, so we said, okay, so we have this big overview. We have this, who transfer students are, just the whole big picture. But what do we need next? So what we did is we just drilled down into specific populations, okay? So the next symposium, a little bit smaller, but we focused on military, non-traditional, and early college. So as you can see here are some of the people that we had present. For military, we had the director of the military education for the state. We had the chair of our military affairs committee at ASU, and of course we had a student panel. So you can see, and again, we tried to include our community college folks as much as possible. And that was really effective because those were the specific areas and student populations that people wanted to know more about. Again, giving them the information that they want to know at that particular time. And I'd say we probably had maybe 120, 130 students or faculty and staff at that. Like I said, it wasn't as large, but again, we were breaking it down a little bit. So some of the outcomes of that symposium, deeper understanding of subpopulations. As a result, not really a direct result, but because of the conversations, one of our communication faculty, who was a veteran herself, wrote a grant. Several of us collaborated together, wrote a grant, and so we now have a student veteran coordinator and a student veteran center. The center itself, well, both happened last year. So we're doing a better job of tracking early college and providing programming. So I don't know about these other institutions, but we didn't even have a way to know who our early college students were. So we finally, have assigned, they can do that in admissions now. So we know who the early college students are. Kim just invited, so Kim and another staff member in student development in our leadership, student leadership area, wrote for a grant from the Parents Association because early college students are really not, their needs are really not addressed at our institution. Can't speak for yours. So they wrote a grant for early college. And early college on our campus is still considered freshman, first year, not freshman, first year. So they get, required housing. They have access to the scholarships and whatnot. But, so how many did you send out? 350 invitations? Yeah, about. So we invited them to a dinner and just a conversation. We had icebreakers and whatnot, but just to get some feedback as far as what they needed. We invited our director of admissions came, and so did our interim vice chancellor for student development. I don't think he knew anything about early college. Now this is a person who's developed, in charge of all student development, and so the conversation for us was great. I mean, the students were just, I said, tell it like it is. Give us your honest opinions. So we're accustomed to that because we want people to tell us because that's the only way you make progress. So I felt bad. The director of admissions said, well, I don't want this, how did you say it? I don't want this to be a bashing session. I said, oh yeah, I do. I said, we'll come up with, we'll come up with solutions later. I said, but we need to, and these students, and we'll have the same students, he had to leave early. I said, but these same students will also come up with solutions too, okay, and recommendations. I said, and that's, and that's exactly what we need. So we're doing a little bit better job, long way to go on early college, and identifying and tracking early college students during the admission process, like I said. So last year, so we said, what are we going to do for the next year? Now, I want to keep in mind that one of the ways that we inform our campus community as to what our office does, I'm committed to meeting with every new chair, academic chair, in the beginning of every school year. Okay, so this year we had 11. That was sort of tough to get in. But our assistant director, who's in charge of articulation, who our articulation unit manages the petition for credit process, visiting coursework, in addition to evaluating credit. We meet with the academic chair, and we bring them the talking points and provide, information as far as how can our office help you, serve transfer students better. And that's just very well received. And once you get the academic chairs, that just makes a really big difference. And every one of them reached out to us not long after and said, can we do this, or can we do, so just building that relationship. But we said, why did we, I don't know, God, why did we do the bus tour? What do you think? So what we decided to do is, again, it's just getting a deeper understanding of those students that we have. So we decided to take faculty and staff to the community college, one of our partner community colleges. And so we had a full day of not only doing a tour of the community college, but meeting with academic areas, with the college transfer, just seeing some of the technical programs that they have, some of the resources. And again, just to build a relationship with faculty and staff in the academic area. And to connect with colleagues, start, really having that conversation about curriculum alignment and how can we support each other in those academic areas. And to gain an understanding of the education support and services they receive prior to transferring. How many of you are in programming and student development? I don't think many times we realize how unaware, depending on what community college you're coming from, particularly if you're coming from a branch campus, or, there might not be any student activities. There might not be any opportunities for leadership. So these students are coming with a, real sense of unawareness, and I think particularly from our student development side, they thought, well, gee, how would they know any of this unless we reach out to them and provide that information? So, and again, we had a panel of those students at that college. We had about 35, 40, well, we filled the bus. And it was a wonderful opportunity, and you can read here some of the comments. I remember on the trip back, I said to everyone, would you like to do something like this again? Everyone said, yes, absolutely. And so, like I said, that was well received. Again, it didn't reach as many people. And we have to still think about now those people who are still coming in new, who don't know about transfer students. But, again, I think it was a way to really provide information to those people who are really interested. We had faculty, staff, lots of different areas represented. Do you want to comment on that day? Or? I know you didn't know you were going to participate, but I didn't know you were coming.
Just from the faculty standpoint, it was amazing how you just falsely assume that people at community college their goal is to come to you. And I feel like we saw so much of the non-college transfer. It really opened my eyes to people talking about those students if they do want to transfer. That's their position.
Yeah, those AAS degrees, and how we can, because they do change your mind, and they do, say, well, maybe I do want to turn that into a, 4-year degree. Yeah, it's just, unless you've been, and again, unless you've really spent time on a community college campus and worked with those students and the broad spectrum of the populations, it's really, how would you know? So some of the plans for the future, we continue. The one thing that we need to do do is continue to do more research, more faculty collaboration. We want to, you know, I've been going back and forth. Do we want a transfer student center, or do we want to provide them enough services, resources, and programming that they don't need a transfer student center? So, but everyone seems to think we need a transfer student center. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Is the transfer student center a place like they go to hang out in this place?
Just go to hang out.
Just a little bit.
I think it detracts from the integration into the regular campus, not the regular, that sort of like.
No, it is.
But into the rest of the campus population. We want them to feel like this is a home, and that we're just like the other streets.
What were you going to say, Carol?
Something similar. I think that the ultimate goal is that that transfer rate falls off and then becomes just the students. You know, I think that the services are really important at the start, but you don't want them to just kind of find their way to come up with some conversations. I also think it's important for students to see themselves somewhere and to be able to have conversations about their trouble with adjustment and acclimation. And so that would be a place to start.
It's important that transfer students maintain that transfer label because I think they bring with them a lot of experience and perspective that can offer a lot to the greater campus community. So I think kind of trying to wash away that label can be kind of detrimental to the learning that they can bring to the students around that.
And what were you going to say?
I was in agreement with the label. Just as we're hardwired as humans to need a sense of home first. And if we have a center that will provide a student with a sense of this is where I belong, they could maybe branch out and do other things. That's what other groups are anyway. You know, university-wide will be in the whatever club. You know, there's so many of them, but that's where students go because there are other students there like that.
Yeah. No. How about some other thoughts? Since it's been almost 7 years, I can't make up my mind, and I'm usually pretty decisive.
We just recently created a Transfer Student Association, and it's kind of pushing more and more for transfers to get involved, but it's kind of like the in-between. Like, we're not trying to not call them transfer students, we want them to get, like, help have others push them to get involved. And so the group that we have now, they want to start doing transfer forums to see like what our office in the transfer center, what we can do to kind of help them, guide them, and push them.
Yes.
I think part of it goes back to the stigma that's still attached to transfer students. They don't wear transfer students as a badge of honor. It's not like you're in an honor society or you're in a fraternity or something that makes you special. And I think there's still sort of that, I'm not as on the same level as a freshman when I came in 4 years. I kind of came late. I came to college. And I think we have to get rid of that stigma. That's not true. And a lot of it, I think, goes back to numbers that they do just as well, they graduate just as well.
Absolutely.
They pass their certification exams to be teachers and all of that, and I think it's sort of raising the image of what a transfer student is. Because I think some students identify as transfer students, some don't want to walk into a transfer student center. Some don't want to walk to a counseling center or a tutoring center. They don't want to be seen that way. So I think as soon as we could get rid of the stigma attached to what a transfer student is.
Yeah. Yes.
And just an example of how the disconnect plays out in the classroom. I just have a personal example. I was auditing a class once for personal reasons. Anyway, when something simple like when the professor says, okay, break out into small groups of 4 or whatever. Well, our students have been together for 2 years on our campus and then a 4-year. So they've got their groups of 4 already, and they know they're actually like clicked up with students that they enjoy working with and so forth. And the transfer students they don't know each other or the other students.
Sure.
And that one dynamic of getting to small groups, you know, it really points out just how disconnected they are, and in some ways not welcomed, you know, into the classroom only because the other students already have their groups formed.
That's a good point.
I just wanted to share, I think that it really depends on the institution or depends on your population. So I work for a small private institution, and our transfer population is 40% nurses. And they have their RNs, they are working adults, they have families. And so for that population, I don't see that the transfer center, I mean, they're on our campus for class and then they leave. They go,
Sure.
They're you know. So I think for that population, it wouldn't be right for them. If our population does change, I think that it could possibly be something that we would maybe look into.
And it's a perfect example of how you need to adapt your programming and your services based on, you know, not only that, but your campus culture.
Right.
Now, we're having faculty all the time now who are saying, well, we want to know who our transfer students are. But it's a completely different reason today than it was 6 years ago. We want to be able to support them and help them, and we still haven't done that yet, because I'm still thinking those are going to be a certain percentage out there that are still going to look at these students. But like I said, I think we've changed so much the campus culture that I think it's positive. One of the other things, Robert, that we're doing is when I talk to institutional research as they help us with their talking points, I want to know, because we had an experience with chemistry, I want to know what the transfer students' GPA is in comparison to the native students when they graduate in every major, okay? Because the chair of the chemistry department called and said, Jane, I'm thinking about, maybe we should, I think I want a GPA requirement, I want admission into chemistry, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, why do you think that? Well, I'm not really quite sure the transfer students are performing, da-da-da-da-da. I said, well, I'll go ahead, let's sit and talk about it. I said, collect the data first. Give me the data first, and let's go from there. She called back, she said, I don't think we need to do this, Jane. She said, because actually, by the time a transfer student graduates with the native student, they've already caught up, they've gone through the transfer shock, they either are equal or better than the native students in the major. And she said, and what we learned from it is that we actually need to change the course sequencing. We changed up a few courses that became, sort of like a bottleneck that didn't need to be at that particular time. So again, the data, is extremely helpful. Yes?
This is an unabashed plug for NISTS, just so you know. On the NISTS website, there is something called the Transfer Data Template. It was developed about a year ago and put out on the website a few months ago. And it is designed as a way to capture data. This is for incoming, for the universities or the schools to which students transfer. That helps you identify the transfer students. You can do it by program, by college, by institution. You can develop your own breakouts for these students, and it also has some suggested ways of depicting the data in very clear ways. And it is designed exactly to do what you're talking about, and that is to inform the institution about transfer students, because there is so much innocence, I was going to say ignorance, I'll say innocence, about who the transfer students are, how many there are, and most important, how they actually perform in comparison to the students who enter as first-year.
No, and that's exciting, and I heard you say that yesterday, and I said I'm absolutely going to get on there. I think what I've learned is through the years is that our faculty and staff really want to help these students. They just didn't know how, and our office has allowed them the information and the support to be able to do that. So I think that's what's been, very impactful, because it's not biology. They were changing up their biology. Their first biology course, they were making it like a 3-2-3 instead of a. So the chair called and said, Jane, we're thinking about, this is how we're thinking about changing biology. How will this affect transfer students? I said, well, you can't do this. And she said, I said, we're going to have to figure out another way to do this. So we fleshed through it so that we came up with a way that, now it's really manual on biology side, but the fact that she just called and said, how is this going to affect transfer students? And then we could work through the process, to me was, amazing. You got an email the other day from a faculty member who went to her transfer faculty mentor meeting, and the provost is going to come and visit. I don't know if you saw my email. The provost was going to come and visit the geology department. Well, this geology faculty who went to the transfer faculty mentor meeting was very concerned that we don't have enough support for faculty members. Well, I just got an email from the provost office today saying, how am I going to discuss this? So anyway, and that's a great thing. It's a great thing that people are having those conversations. So just real quickly, because I want to give you time for questions, okay? We have a lot of other initiatives. I think Kim sends out an email to every transfer student every Monday morning. It's called Transfer Student, with all the things that are happening that week, whether it's drop ad, activities, so there's a lot that's going on. But if you want to build partnerships, hopefully you'll have this PowerPoint. This PowerPoint will be available. But I provided these two several slides. What are your strengths? And how do you move to best practices? What are your barriers? What are some potential solutions? So, our strength, just as an example, that the personnel in our office is very student-centered. We want to expand this ethic to all units that interact with transfer students. What are your barriers? But also, who are your existing partners? What are the strengths of your relationships? Who are your potential partners, and what would be the benefit to the institution? So if you want to, work as a team, get a group together, a transfer services team, what are some of your goals? And this is just an example. Dedicated, long-term, dedicated transfer advisors in academic departments and colleges. The training has been complete, but not every department has it. Again, creating a transfer student center, or transfer services center. But anyway, just some ways, something to help you start the conversation and build upon that. So I want to end with the Texas campus to graduate a student. I don't know if you can see that on there, but Mark Allen Koisel, who is a member of the Institute Advisory Board, he was our keynote speaker at our very first symposium. And this is, so I put his name here because I took this from him. And it does take a campus to graduate a student. It takes every part of the campus. And then I just listed some resources for you as well. So let me just open it up to some questions because I think we have about 5 minutes or so. Yes.
Hi, I'm actually from UNC.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm curious what role, if any, advising plays in the current model of your center and for your transfer students as well. What's the system?
So we work very closely with our University College Advising and really with all of our dean's offices too in advising. So we have structures in place and committees that we all work together. But our transition advisor, she works with students from the time they're thinking about coming, and she hands off the baton to our advisors once they come to orientation. Okay? But they still work closely together. Students will reach out to University College Advising, but we want to try to minimize the impact on our University College Advising, who does, they do all entering students, and then if they declare a major, they move on. But we work very closely, but like I said, we have, and all of our Jumpstart coordinator, and our transition advisor, and our transfer admissions person, we do not do admissions, but our transfer admission rep, are fairly cross-trained to be able to answer a lot of the advising questions, but Beth is the person who does that. She is conducting admitted student webinars this spring. Her first one is next week. She does advising webinars since we can't reach out to all 58 community colleges. So she really is on the front end, but works very closely. I feel with our general education, with our orientation advising, we're like the same office. I mean, our relationship is really close. So, big question. Other questions? Yes?
I'm just wondering if other schools have done much with respect to consortium agreements between the 2 and the 4 years, such that students who are finishing up their associate degree may also be taking a class or 2 with the 4-year, just because it's in their best interest to do so because of sequencing or whatever it might be. Are many people doing that?
Well, I tell you what we did several years ago before reverse transfer was reverse transfer. About 4 years ago, we started reverse transfer at Appalachian because there were some students, and at that time, our gen ed was so complicated. So we said if a student is coming to us and they have 11 or less hours to complete an associate degree at a community college, we'll let them take those courses the first semester at Appalachian, transfer them back so they can get their associate degree, they've met their gen ed, and move on. If not, what we were finding, they may have had to take twice as many courses to finish our gen ed. So we called that reverse transfer. And so I'll never forget when we started reverse transfer, Michelle Blackwell, who's now at the Clearinghouse, started in North Carolina. I said, well, that's our name, you can't use that. So now we call it gen ed exchange. We still do it if we can get someone moved forward. And we communicate, so what we do is we send a contract out to the community college. Their advisor tells us the courses they need to complete a degree. We go ahead, our gen ed office and our transition advisor manage that, and then the student can get that. I mean, if it's 12 or more hours, they can stay at their community college with that.
I have a comment and I have a question. So I work at Damon College. We're in Buffalo, New York, so we're a small private institution. And like I said earlier, our big population is nursing. And so we do have a program. We have quite a few articulations. One of our articulations was at Jamestown Community College, which is about an hour, a little over an hour away from us. We offer some distance learning courses for those class students. So when they're in their first 2 years, they're taking some of our nursing classes that we know are going to transfer in. So we have that built into our articulation. I came in just a little bit late, so I apologize if you shared this information. Regarding to your bus trip, do you do a reverse bus trip? Are those faculty from the community college coming onto your campus and doing a similar program?
Well, now that you said that, so we had a faculty member stand up, and the chair of our biology department stand up in a town hall meeting with our chancellor and all the administration and say, why are we not doing more curriculum alignment, da 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 da. So the day after, I shot an email to the provost and say, this is our next symposium, that we invite so many community college folks to campus in certain disciplines, and they all get to work together, and but now that's going to take some money. So he's going to, I've been wanting to do it, but we didn't have the financial resources to do it. Now, if he wants to support that, then we can do that. But we have academic departments. Trina, you've had can you have 10 community colleges? 11 community colleges come and visit and spend a day with the math faculty, and so we do to some degree, but I mean, you can always do it more.
Some years ago, at the college at which I worked, we identified some key disciplines, and English and accounting was 2 of them. And we invited people from the universities that received a lot of our transfer students, but also the high schools teaching those courses. Because it was really amazing how little connection there was, at least at that time, between the high school and these community college faculty. And so the high schools, for example, were teaching English as literature, and that students were not prepared for writing. And that was a remarkably productive set of that trio.
Well, that's a good best practice too. For the sake of time, we need to end, but I do want to remind you to do your evaluation. I am going to be here afterwards, to answer any questions. Just to let you know that these T's, I was a transfer student when we registered people for the symposium. Everyone who is a transfer student got this to put in their office, so other transfer students could recognize that they were a transfer student themselves. Again, thank you for coming, and I hope you had the rest of the conference is enjoyable and informative.